welcome back. And today we've got us a Ficus Philippinensis. It is a cultivar of a Benjamina variety, but it is a Philippinensis. This is the perceived front of the tree, and then the perceived back of the tree. I'm sure you can see why that would be the back of the tree, and again back to the front here. I got this in March of 2019. I'm going to show you a couple pictures here. I did repot it right away. It was in a little bit of a smaller container. You can see there it had aerial roots just spilling out of it, which kind of goes in my theory of neglect and being pot bound is what kind of creates some of those aerial roots. The nursery, they had that in nursery soil, and then they had it in an area where they just have sprinklers kind of hit it here and there and everything. Where now I've got it in bonsai soil, and I do water it nearly every day, so it really doesn't develop any more aerial roots. I'd like to leave it in here until it gets extremely pot bound and just kind of see what happens with the aerial roots, but it's been a couple years now, nothing's really happened, and I'm starting to think it looks pretty nice. One of my favorite trees. I might put it in something nicer soon, but we'll see what happens. I have a picture here from June where you can see this branch right here sticking almost straight up. It was a lot smaller then. I'm sorry, that would be June of 2019, and this branch was a lot smaller then. And then I'm going to skip ahead where you can just see where I actually did my wedge cut trick there. It's not a trick, it's just a technique or whatever. And then that was, I think, in March and April of this year, 2021. I took the wedge cut there, and I just was able to use a guy wire on that and pull this down. It did break the branch collar on top. Neither the break of the branch collar or the wedge cut underneath have really healed much. See it all that much. It's actually kind of getting hidden by that little bit of foliage there, which I may end up leaving just to serve that purpose, and maybe also help to just give it some bulk there and maybe heal it up a little more. It's not hurting anything now, so I doubt I cut it off today. And then I haven't touched it since May 5th of this year, where I did another wedge cut. You can't really see the difference all that much in the pictures, so I'll just probably include a picture of just where I had it in May. This was May 5th or 8th, I think. I did a wedge cut here and pulled this branch down, or tried to pull this branch down a little bit more. It's working. It did move down quite a bit. The wedge cut is right there at my finger. Did not heal underneath at all. It's a little more noticeable. I mean, it will heal up over time, but I'm a little unhappy about that. And today I'm just going to kind of do some maintenance pruning. It's got some straight down growth. It's got some crazy growth here where, I mean, this is super long up here. This starts way down here and is growing way up to there. So it's got some super long growth that I just kind of want to cut back and just redefine the pads a little bit, get some of the straight growth down. I'm going to try, all of this foliage here belongs to this branch that has the broken part there, so I'm going to try to not hit that too much. I'd like to, the foliage feeds the roots there, which is going to thicken that branch as well. So hopefully, if I leave a bunch on there, that'll kind of help that a little bit, although I do want to balance the tree out some. There was a time, I mean, if I could transfer a bunch of the pictures over from my iPhone into the movie editor, there was a time that I was pruning really hard up here and trying to leave all this growth down here, trying to thicken these branches up. That's why you do see the big difference from the older pictures till now. But for some reason, the iPhone, I don't know, it takes pictures in HEIC format, and the editor has to have the JPEG, and you can only transfer so many a day. It's ridiculous. But actually, the first thing I'll do is take these guy wires off. So funny, the amount of people that think that they're called guide wires. I actually start calling them guide wires sometimes myself. There's a whole little story on why they call them guy wires, and I think it's because back in the day they used to have a guy holding the wire. I don't really know. I don't remember. But that's all the guy wires I got on there. Oh, this goes in here too. And then down lower here, a lot of this will just be kind of some strictly kind of hedge pruning type of stuff. When I get up here, that'll be a lot more deliberate. It is very strong with the able growth. You know, the newer people out there, apex is the top. Apical growth just means that it's growing straight out, you know, that it grows to the top. Most trees do have apical growth. I guess I tried to look up examples of ones that didn't the other day, and one of them was azaleas. And I don't know, I get some people tell me that we can grow those down here if we want, but I don't know, I kind of go off. I go to the Bonsai nursery in North Fort Myers, kind of go off what they have. They actually, it's funny, they sell junipers, but they have very few specimens. Or high dollar ones, they just kind of have some of the pre-bonsai stuff. I don't think I've ever seen any azaleas there. But azaleas will get to more of a bush growth. A lot of the Ficus microcarpa kind of get the bush growth in that they definitely get a canopy and they will get a shrub-like appearance. But they still definitely grow out of the top more than anywhere else. I've got a couple growing in the ground in my yard that I actually just come through and hit just the tops, trying to get it to widen out some of the bottom and then just make it to where they're not such long bean poles. Soon I'm going to take that big thing of cuttings I showed in one of the videos, I don't remember which one it was, but I think I'm going to have to set up in my garage and film out there. Or just plan on giving this room a big deep clean when I'm done, because I'm sure that thing's going to be full of bugs. So I believe I've mentioned this before, sometimes I have so much rehearsed on exactly what I'm going to say when I get going, and I forget to say everything. But I am doing just kind of the maintenance prune. And then I was going to assess a couple more of these branches that I can maybe do the wedge cut on. I might do 2 or 3 at once. I think I'm starting to get like enough ramification in some of these pads where I can do some more detail wiring, maybe either over the winter or next spring. But I don't really want to do any detail wiring until I'm sure I got all the branches set. I do think it's an attractive looking tree from the front. But when you look at it from the back like you guys are now, I'm looking at the front now, but when you're looking at it from the back, so many of these branches, this one especially. So this is the one I just pulled down. This one, you pulled down a lot, but yeah, it just looks like everything's going like that, which is, I mean, basically what the ficus trees do is grow towards the sun, and that makes the branches all stick up. I have had wire on almost all of these, but even with the wire on there, things still just kind of makes its way up. This one's getting really long growth, this one's getting really long growth, but it's a really skinny branch, and I'd like to let it get thicker. But of course, the more you prune it, the more that's not going to happen. So I don't really want a bunch of long, skinny branches coming out of there either. See, I've been holding that branch down with guy wires, and it holds pretty well. But I think with another wedge cut, if I could bring it down maybe a little bit stronger, might give it a little more room to kind of grow some better branching. I think that's one thing I might do today. That one. And then the one right next to the other one I just did, not this one, but the one up top. I kept talking as I was pruning here because I wasn't planning on doing time lapse, but now all of a sudden I find it taking a lot longer than I thought it would. And just kind of watching their videos to see what they're doing. I find a lot of the tropical ones are from Indonesia. And shout out to my friends in Indonesia there. Thanks for the support. Some of you guys got some really good videos. I just wish I could understand them a little bit more. But it is pretty wild how Seems like a lot of the videos that I try to just kind of get an idea on what I could do a little differently, either the videos are like 3 minutes long and I have no idea what in the world they did, or they're like 40 minutes long and man, I just can't sit and watch that much. And see that, you guys probably can't see what I'm talking about there, but that one could really use just some normal wire, not a guy wire or anything. But it's so small, I might even just go ahead and calm it down a little bit. Really not trying to do any. If I do the wedge cut and guy wire, I want to be able to just leave it alone for months. I don't want to have to check on it all the time. I've got lots of my trees that I did right when I started the channel here. They're kind of in need of some updates. Or not really updates, but you can take the wire off. But I'm also trying not to bore you guys with the same trees over and over. And you guys might notice I'm going to, actually now at this point, I tried to get most of the rule breakers and stuff. I'm now just going to hit these top pads pretty hard. Not trying to like necessarily cut off branches. There's a big feather in there. That'll be the first part to come back. This is actually, I thought about making a video on this right when I started the channel. This was kind of in recovery from the last work I did. Right when it starts getting new growth. And at that point I had everything cut back even down here. It comes out really red. Not quite like the Cancina does. But there was a few days where this just really looked awesome out there. But then it is one of those things of like all of a sudden one day I looked at it and it's just all green. Which is still a nice looking tree. They say the red on the new growth on most trees is just the red is a sheen on there to keep it from getting sunburned. And then once it kind of comes out like it did when I was starting on this one, that's all old growth and it just kind of doesn't need the sheen on there because it's not going to get burned because it's been out for a while. That's the one I brought down this time. This is probably going to be the one I bring down. Sorry, this is the one I brought down the last time. This is the one I brought down the first time. I want to bring down this one, and then I think I'm going to do this one too. And maybe even that one, just kind of depending on how brave I feel once I get started on that. Just about done pruning. You know, and now it really just kind of does not match up there unless I cut some of this back. This is another branch I'd like to thicken more, but I hate seeing it when it's super out of balance. And I think just to balance it out a little bit, I do have to cut back a little bit further here. Should be able to see a little more detail of the tree now. And get my tools and my thoughts together to exactly which ones of these. Alright, so I've been looking at it, and I've come to a couple decisions here. So, and both of these are back branches, which is probably why I haven't been putting that much effort into them, but when you look at them from that angle, that one and this one, they really are going up a little much. So with guy wires, I can get that down and have it about where I'd like it at, but then anytime you take it off, it just springs right back in there. So I'm going to hit it with the saw there and bring it way down. And then this one too, even though it's kind of getting up here high enough where it could be included in the crown, and in the crown you could kind of have everything kind of gathering together there, but I'd still like to bring that back a little bit. And then I was looking at this and I kind of realized actually one of the things that have been bothering me the most is, you know, here from the front, I did the cut there and I brought that down, it's looking in a better spot, and then you got this guy here. And I think one of the things that bothers me is it's actually one of the rule breakers in that there shouldn't be two branches coming out of the trunk right at the same part. I'm sure some part of my thought process wanted to leave it in place. I mean, of course, when I initially bought it, I had only been in the hobby like 3 or 4 months or something like that, and I've been making a ton of mistakes. That's the way I like to learn, is make mistakes and try to learn from it. But I'm going to take it off. Going to change the tree quite a bit, but I have not gotten a cutting from one of these to stick with me yet. And usually when I'm cutting things like specifically trying to make cuttings out of it, I would have done it earlier in the spring. I mean, I guess I could have waited until next spring, just simply because, I mean, everybody says that, down here this is when, everything grows and grows or whatever. But at the same time, taking cuttings in the heat of it sometimes, like, it just really, it's a little bit too hot. And that's another reason I'm just going to use I'm going to use just plain nursery soil here. I got it's Miracle-Gro cactus mix. But I've got this. This is some rooting powder. I actually accidentally broke the container I had it in. It's nothing special. I just buy whatever they have at the big box store, the rooting powder. I dip it in there. It really only takes, with the ficus has the sap, so it really only takes once, and it just sticks right to it. And then, and especially with nursery soil like this, I'm just going to stick it in there, and I'd like, I really wish, I wish I had some kind of a system to hold it in a place with it just barely in there, but I'm going to get it in there far enough where it'll stand up on its own. And after kind of observing the way that these guys will get after they get root bound and everything, I can, if it survives, I can leave it in this for a long time. And so it's a little bit deeper than I wanted it to be. As a matter of fact, wanted to try to leave a couple growing tips just to make sure it kept growing, but I think I will cut off a little more of that weight. Just so it's not so tipsy in there and everything. Alright, and you can probably see that does change the dynamic of the tree quite a bit there. But no matter how much has changed, I still think that both these branches here are going to look a lot better if they were down just a bit. So I'm going to start on the lower one here, and then when I pull it down, maybe it'll come out of the way a little more for me to work on the other one. There we go. Now when I pull it down, it doesn't bounce right back up. And hopefully it heals up a little bit better than the other ones did. I say that I hope it heals up, and I do. I'm a little disheartened that the other ones did not heal up a little bit better than I thought that they might. I thought if they didn't heal, they'd at least, see right now there's barely even a hole right there, or even an opening there, but there's still a huge opening on this one. But so maybe this one might work out a little bit better. That one felt really soft when I went to go bend it. Maybe I got that one in time. This one's a lot thicker. We'll see what happens. But I was hoping that, maybe if they didn't heal each other up or themselves up, that maybe they'd at least like drop an aerial root or something. Give it some more interest or whatever, but it didn't. This one's going to be a lot different, I think. This one has a lot more of a collar. That other one didn't really have a collar. The collar is where it just kind of thickens up just before it goes into the tree. I'm going to go ahead and guy wire that into place before I talk too much here, just so I don't lose my concentration as to where I wanted that thing to be. Well, that one worked out probably even better than the other three. Should work pretty well. This one is where I just cut off that branch and that had the one there. I might put another guy wire on it while I let it rest, but I don't think I will. When I do things like this, I do always keep in mind that, if I do screw everything up, I could chop it and start again, but like it's taken me a little while here to try to heal that up. And so, anytime you say, well, I can chop it and start again, well, if I chopped it there, I'd lose that aerial root. That's part of the reason why I kind of kept it up as high as I did. I was trying to save that root there. It's one of the reasons why I left this branch growing here too, so that it would feed that root. But it's taking shape a little bit better. I got a couple of these wires, 4 guy wires sitting here. think I can bend this one down on its own without really doing a cut. Although with the way that one went with the collar there, you know, I might just hit that just a little bit. And hope that I'm going to hit it just a little bit. Try to stay away from that arrow root. And then maybe when I pull it down some, maybe even that arrow root will help kind of heal a little bit too. Yep, that should work. You know, there was plenty of energy there, so it should make some back budding go on. Should definitely let the tree just have energy to expend. I had this wire holding this guy down just a bit. And then this wire was the one I had pulling this down. I don't think I want to use it that way anymore, although I think I just kind of want to pull that down some. So these two right now, whereas this one is kind of where it is, that's mainly because of how I brought this branch down. In place really well, just hasn't healed up that undercut or even where it broke the collar there. This one will spring back up, but right now I just got it kind of on there, separating this one from this one. Sometimes I think about like not watering the tree for a little while and wondering if that would make it start giving a bunch of arrow roots and stuff, but I just can't bring myself to neglect the tree like that. Sometimes I feel like I can throw it in a corner of my yard and forget about it. And as long as I remembered it before winter time, I think it'd be fine. Probably have a ton of arrow roots and everything. But I gotta water my trees. Anyhow, while I was taking a break a little while ago, just about done for the day. Looks like it's getting ready to rain outside. I'd like to get it back outside before it does rain. But I did take my knife and I tried to rough this up a little bit. This wood's a little bit harder than that willow leaf ficus that I did the other day. If you watched that video, I tried to heal that wound up a little bit. So I'm going to grab my Dremel here real quick and just try to scar it up a little bit more than it is, especially around the edges there. It's a really ugly scar. I was hoping that this would eventually kind of outgrow it, but you can see it's just really thick there. So I'm going to hit that real quick. Alright, so I'm going to take my Dremel to this a bit. I just have a regular drill bit on the Dremel, and I'm going to try to take out some of the bulk in there without making a hole that water would sit in. I don't think it would matter as high as it is up here, but I still don't really want water sitting in there. I don't want it getting any kind of a rotting problem or anything. So people have asked me why I don't use cut paste. I just don't find it necessary. I've never had any rotting problems. If I ever have anything, I would. I mean, I might even buy some the next time I'm at the nursery there just to have it just in case, but I have some bougainvillea I'm going to work at some point, and I might use it there because that is a softer wood that rots. But I'm going to hit this a little bit. I'm going to try to get it a little bit closer. It is just a standard drill bit. I actually ordered a carving set, and it came as, it must be like an engraving set or something like you're going to carve on there two little Johnny or something like that. So this is the regular drill bit that comes with it. And I'll probably rough it up a little bit and then go ahead and take the knife and try to clean it up a little bit cleaner. Or maybe the concave cutter or something. I hate power tools. I hate the noise it's going to make. Sometimes my dumb ass doesn't think maybe I should take it off the Lazy Susan, that way it doesn't keep spinning on me when I... that's why I need a real carving set. That did not work hardly at all. But yeah, it did actually improve it a little bit. And gave my knob cutters here something to hold on to. I don't know if anybody has a good carving set for the Dremel. You can help me out with where to order that thing from or whatever. I should have ordered that other set I got back. Yeah, went a little bit too far with the knob cutter there. I don't like that. You know. Actually, that might even work out for the best there. Try to get that wound smaller and smaller as it goes. Comes back with this new growth, should look a lot better. As long as this branch makes it, shouldn't even really have a spot to heal. It just pulled right on down. Almost seemed a little unstable when I pulled it. When I was getting flustered here with that, I actually forgot. I was just kind of getting flustered with my bad job of dremeling, but I kind of forgot that that there's actually a knob hole. There's an old scar there. That's from a branch that I cut off like right when I first got it. Almost healed up, and it just kind of almost like looks like it's in place where this is just ugly. But again, with the apex growing up there, that should help heal that right up. Almost should hit that just a little bit more with the knob cutter there, or at least my concave cutter. And that was part of what was flustering me, is that's right where it connects with the other scar there. And it just actually kind of slipped my mind. But that's that. It's the back now. Notice it doesn't have quite so much like that going on in the back. Could even perhaps change an angle of it at one point, you know, or change the front. Maybe that one day. Probably not that. But I think I'll stick with that eventually. I don't know, I'm almost feeling like I should have taken that branch off there, but hard to tell. Anyway, thanks for watching.